Good morning, delegates, and thank you, Chair and Co-Chair. It's my pleasure to thank organizers, especially my friend, Dr. Ramarao, for asking me to prepare this in a very short time. So this is just assembly of whatever my experiences have been there for the last 5 years. And probably at the end of the session or at the end of this, we can discuss on these topics. So my topic is a little different from what you have been hearing for last 2 days. And my last 2 slides will give you a little brief on regulatory aspects of these advances. So the outline of my talk is the projected nuclear power till 2050, and what is the scenario in the availability of uranium worldwide, and what are the advances going on in reactor types world over, especially SMRs, and the advances going on in nuclear fuel to meet the new challenges, and the advances going on in nuclear fuel cycle, both at front end and back end, and a small last slide on regulatory perspective. So as per IAEA 2023 report, the projected nuclear power by 2050 to meet the climatic goal is 873 gigawatt in a very high scenario. And as of today, we have operating power of 374 gigawatt, and 415 NPPs are working worldwide, which has a share of 9.8%, which is likely to be increased to 14% by 2050. And this will be achieved through long-term operation, that is extended life, as well as new builds. And in a low-case scenario, it will be around 400 gigawatt. And presently, we have around 32 countries operating nuclear power, and new countries in discussion phase, around 24 more, and 26 more countries will be introducing nuclear power. So this was the statement at COP27, that nuclear power is affordable, resilient, and secure. So this is the power reactor information system of IAEA, which is very dynamic on the operating reactors or shutdown reactors. And this is the statistics as of May. And this anybody can have a daily, and you can see major 3 countries, USA, China, and France, they are building up a lot of reactors. And India also falls under building up new reactors, as you can see. But mostly, the new construction is coming up in Asia, Far East, that is India, China, as you can see from this right graph. So these are some of the headlines which says nuclear is booming, and everybody is talking about nuclear. You can see some headlines from Bloomberg and many other publications, New York Times, and Bill Gates, all industrialists, they are all interested in getting into this nuclear power. Some of them are interested in setting up nuclear power at Moon and Mars. So a lot of studies are going on. A lot of money is being pumped into nuclear power. These are some more headlines on the nuclear. So it says we are in a period of nuclear renaissance. So this next 2 decades are going to be really happening decades for nuclear. This slide you can see on the left, minimum deaths per gigawatt from nuclear and minimum generation of carbon dioxide emissions per gigawatt compared to all other forms of energy. So that's the reason everybody is interested in nuclear. And these are the estimates and the actual figures about uranium demand from 1800 to 2021. So nuclear falls in the green zone. And these are the cost. You can see the cost of uranium increasing from 22 at $45 per pound to around $106 per pound. So there is a lot of interest and demand being increased for uranium. So this is another shot about this uranium spot price. So there is a global demand could reach around 145 million pounds by the end of this year. And as of today, the annual demand is 180 million and expected to be double by 2040. So there will be a lot of supply gap in uranium by 2030. So this is another projection on the supply gap, demand, and so in the high demand, you may require around 90,000 tons of uranium, and as of today, it is something around 35,000 and all that. So a lot of capacities have to build up, and may have to be filled up by secondary uranium supplies. So a lot of thinkings are going on how to, that's why people are moving towards another source like thorium. So molten salt reactor may fill up some of these demands. And if you take the scenario of SMRs addition from 2030 onward, and in upper scenario of study, you will have additional demand of uranium of 26,000 tons. So these are some of the planning. As of today, there are 166 projects for the uranium resource. And as of today, 72% of global reserves come from these 3 countries, Australia, Canada, and Kazakhstan, and mainly from half of that from Kazakhstan. And very high-grade uranium is up to 20% is found in Canada. So these are some of the top 10 countries producing uranium and supplying to all the nuclear power plants. Now coming to the new topic, new reactors called small and modular reactors, SMRs. Presently, as per our IAEA booklet called Advance in Small Reactors, ARIS, this was published in 2022. Now it is due to be published 2024 version. As you can see, there are 83 types of SMR floating. And out of that, half of that is water-cooled, LWR type. And then the other 45 are of different types, like fast reactor, lead-cooled fast reactors, sodium-cooled fast reactors, and molten salt. And some of them are high-temperature gas reactors. And then you can see on the left, the majority build are being done in 3 and 4 countries, USA, Russia, China, and Japan. So there are 19 countries involved in this SMR at various stages. But the challenges which have been highlighted in deployment is a demonstration of safety and their operating performance, and then security related issues, then implementation of safeguards. That is where IAEA comes into picture, and the economic competitiveness of these new reactors, and harmonization of licensing framework for deploying them globally, and then establishment of legal framework. A lot of work is going on this last nuclear law related things at international organizations. Now coming to fuel cycle. So this center circle is a closed fuel cycle, right from mining to disposal. And you can see the red flags are those which will need a lot of technical upgradation. A lot of challenges are there. And the green ones, flagged ones, they need to be adjusted a little bit, like in uranium resource or fuel fabrication. Little bit of adjustment is required. But in case of transport packages, we need to have a relook into the requirement of high burner fuel and high enriched fuel, spent fuel. So, and then on the reprocessing and disposal, a lot of things to be closed. Still, a lot of work is to be done. So these are some of the SMRs being, like in Russia, these are already functional. And then there are thinking going on that these marine-based reactors can convert into land-based reactors. And at IAEA also, a task force has been made to see the applicability of standards for these type of NPPs. Then high temperature gas reactors like China's one will be the first one. But the earlier German reactor, Jülich reactor, there are a lot of experience on this operation and the management of spent fuel. And this is the fuel you can see, which has been it's called triso-coated particle fuel. And the handling of this fuel is another issue, whether it is reprocessable and how to store this spent fuel. So, though it is advantageous in operation of NPPs at high temperatures. So these are some of the maturing technology which our India is already having maturity in this, sodium cooled fast reactors. A lot of countries are developing this fast reactor without using plutonium, and the molten salt reactor are still in very nascent stage. A lot of research is going on, and different salts are being tried, fluoride or chloride salts. And problem is about enrichment of lithium and then recycling of those salts. So there is a tech doc published by IAEA last year on molten salt reactor, the status and trends in molten salt reactor technology. Then coming to fuel designs. So there are 4 verticals in SMR. One is a light water type reactor, similar to what we have PWRs. And then second one is on high temperature gas reactors. And third one is on fast reactor, whether it is sodium cooled or lead bismuth cooled, or the fourth category is a molten salt reactor, where the fuel may be thorium or enriched uranium mixed with the salt. So here I would say that the molten salt is a long-term solution that is around beyond 2040. But yes, high temperature gas reactor, the China has already commissioned one of that, and the experience from China will be definitely going a long way. And on the fast reactors, advanced technologies are already in operation in Russia, India, and Russia is coming out with a 1200 megawatt sodium cooled fast reactor, and they are using 100% MOX fuel. And the light water reactor is the reality going to happen, light water type of SMRs. So most of them are around 100 to 200 megawatt capacity, having enrichment of less than 5%, which is easy. The technology is well known. So most of the countries are depending on this LWR type of SMRs. So these are some of the challenges going to be faced, like for LWR, HALEU type of fuel, beyond 5% enrichment, fabrication and its packaging, transport. These are the challenges to be solved, and a lot of discussions are going on this HALEU, how to convert the present manufacturing facilities into HALEU type facilities, and how to organize the transportation of spent fuel with high burn-up and high enrichment. And on high temperature gas reactor, a lot of validation of codes, irradiation tests, these things to be done, and advanced manufacturing techniques are being researched using additive manufacturing, and disposal is another challenge. Then coming to fast reactors, type of SMRs. So again, at mass manufacturing of HALEU fuel or nitrate type of fuel, and fuel performance at high burn-up, and pellet cladding interactions for metal fuel. All these are the issues to be resolved. And another is industrialization of this strip processing. Then coming to molten salt reactor, the major problem is the construction material, because they're highly corrosive, because of the fluoride salts or chloride salt, and development of online reprocessing, because you have to remove the poison which are generated. So online reprocessing and waste management is another issue. Now coming to the back end, spent fuel storage is a real concern for NPP operators. As you can see, world over, around 430,000 tons of spent fuel is in the global inventory. This is the end of 22. And out of that, 70% is in storage. Only 30% has been reprocessed. So, and then some of them have been stored for more than 50, 60, 80 years. So they are moving from wet storage to dry storage or other options. So, and then Finland and Sweden, they may be the first to come out with the repository. Finland is likely to come out by next year for directly disposing the spent fuel. So a lot of research and a lot of discussions are going on this behavior of spent fuel in storage. And even IAEA is coming out with the the safety requirement or safeguard requirement in long-term storage. So by the end of 2023, we will have a global inventory of 300,000 tons of heavy metal. And these are the different options for spent fuel management, maybe direct disposal or through reprocessing. So these are various options various countries can opt for. And these are different ways of storage, from pooled to dry storage, from metal cast to concrete cast. And so now coming to next stage of advanced fuel cycles. Here again the major countries like France, Russia and all, those who are into reprocessing, there are a lot of discussion going on. I was fortunate to be part of that OECD, NEA technical working group, and they are thinking of what India has already done about partitioning, transportation and all that. So modifying their flow sheets to remove the radionuclides and to reduce the waste. So these are different options, open fuel cycle or once through or multi-recycling in fast reactor or through LWR route. So, and then some of them are also thinking through ADS route. But a lot of research, like how much waste will be generated from each route, this has been done, and this report is likely to be published by next year. I was part of that report. So they are doing a study that which of these routes will benefit in reduction of the minor actinides in the waste. So, but these the drivers will be uranium price. Suppose the uranium price goes very high, then this is the route to get back the uranium and competitiveness of this fast reactor with LWRs. So these are the things, even now costing and economics are playing a big role at international organization, finding out the costing of these fuel cycles. So these are different in a pictorial form, the options and the trends going on in fuel cycle. And this is one of the report which is under publishing. And you can see in the center the BARC's technology of cesium-137, ruthenium, and I was at the helm of affairs when we developed this ruthenium-106 in BARC. So this has been very much appreciated at international level, and Russia has been into advanced stage removal of these radionuclides. So recycling is a mature technology, and then there are many options worldwide, and there are more than 40 years of experience of reprocessing of LWR, like at La Hague in France, and now Japan is about to commission the Rokosho plant, and China is building up a big reprocessing plant. Russia is already running reprocessing for long. So now they are building up to reprocess the MOX fuel. Till now, they were thinking of mono recycling. And by recycling, you can save 25 to 35% of uranium. This has been studied. And some of the reactors designs, now they are building up for 100% MOX cores. As of today, they are using only up to 30% cores in LWRs. And in Japan and Russia, they're going, in Russia, BN 800 is a 100% MOX core. So you can see the recycling saves 25% resource of uranium. And and reused enriched uranium, reprocessed. What we call in India as depleted uranium, actually it is reprocessed uranium. Depleted uranium definition is from the enrichment, whatever tail end, that is depleted uranium. So the use of reprocessed uranium and enriching it from, let's say, 1% to 3.5%. This is being planned by Russia already, and they have a fuel called remix fuel. Remix fuel. It's different from other countries, and their experience is very good actually. And as you can see, reprocessing, there are only few countries expert on reprocessing. So this is again the same thing. These are some of the publications on recycling. And my last two slides on safety. So there has been, for last 3-4 years, there has been a complete review of applicability of those standards for the novel reactor. Novel reactor means SMRs or advanced reactors. And these are some of the standards we have been reviewing. The standard SSR4 is for fuel cycle facilities. It's a safety requirement for fuel cycle facility. And then safety guides on fuel fabrication, enrichment, reprocessing, storage. Everything is being reviewed at the expert level now, and then it will go to member state level, and then it will go through 15 steps of review. After that only a report will come out. Similarly, this SSR6 on transportation. So these are being reviewed for their applicability to new reactors. And this is, we call it as a standard chart. So these are all different stages of nuclear fuel cycle and the connected standards at IAEA. So one preliminary report has already been published on non-water cooled SMRs. So similarly, many such reports are being published. So in end, my conclusion, the LWR-based technology, the fuel cycle challenges are in both front end and in the back end of the fuel cycle because of the high burn-up and for their disposal. And for the SMRs to be deployed in long term, the challenges are not different from bigger size reactors. Though there will be spent fuel, smaller quantity of spent fuel generated, but it could be an enabler for management of backend. And advanced fuel cycle and recycling is must if the nuclear has a future beyond 2050. And there are a lot of studies going on till what uranium can sustain. So this is one of the answers, recycling, multi-recycling. And a lot of countries have embarked on advanced fuel manufacturing, like additive manufacturing and related R&D for advanced fuel cycles. And a lot of collaboration takes place between many countries, you know. And I've seen they are very frank in sharing the informations at international level. So in the end, I acknowledge my alma mater, International Atomic Energy. I could assemble whatever I had presented in many forums Thank you very much.